Merry Christmas. Well, good morning, Mr. Potter. What's the news? Not every deal was in Germany and Japan.
On June 6, 2012, Heath Stoneman was shot by police in Odessa, Texas, while he was sitting on his front porch. He survived, but was convicted of 4 counts of aggravated assault on a police officer. To this day, he has never been apprised of the state's evidence against him in his case. His family and friends have never believed he was actually guilty. And many unanswered questions have surfaced after a review of the evidence in his case. When the Texas police shoot someone, an open records request won't necessarily give you access to things like in-dash video or dispatcher radio recordings or police reports. Law enforcement agencies only have to release records when there's a conviction in the case. Over 99% of the time, the police are cleared of any wrongdoing in police shootings. If someone who's shot by the police is later convicted of a crime, then you can obtain the records. The problem is, over half the people that are shot by police in Texas die as a result of the shooting. Many times you have to file a civil lawsuit in order to figure out what happened. The settlements in those type of cases usually result in the records not being revealed to the public. The Texas open record laws basically give law enforcement a free pass to avoid scrutiny of journalists and concerned citizens. You might be thinking that I'm making it sound like there's no oversight on a police-involved shooting. There is actually. After the Texas Rangers investigate a case, they present their findings to a grand jury, and it's up to the grand jury either to indict the officer or to issue what's called a no bill, which clears them in the case. Unfortunately, the proceedings of grand juries in Texas are inherently secretive. For example, a journalist couldn't examine the actual findings of a Texas Ranger investigation and then compare that to what evidence actually gets put in front of a grand jury. These law enforcement exemptions aren't designed to protect law enforcement per se. They're designed to protect the privacy of citizens who are occasionally falsely accused of a crime and after an investigation cleared of any wrongdoing. When the police shoot someone, they are a public official acting in official capacity. Using a privacy exemption to shield public officials from public scrutiny is ridiculous.
I'll pay any sort of a bonus on the loan, any interest, if you still want the building and loan.
Because Heath Stoneman survived his police shooting and was later convicted, we were able to file open records requests with the Texas Rangers, the Odessa Police Department, and the Ector County District Attorney. After months of wrangling, the agencies eventually released the following records. First, we received the Texas Ranger reports. This included 8 sworn statements given by Odessa Police Department personnel under oath. The rest of the release included officer reports, routine case filings, crime scene photos, and in-dash video and audio recordings. To be honest, the first time that we read through all of the material, it seemed like the police had a pretty good case. But then we noticed that among all the video and audio recordings we had, we couldn't find one for the incident commander. When we brought this to the attention of the Ector County District Attorney, they claimed that all of the records they had were already released, and that if we felt something was missing, then we needed to issue a request to the Odessa Police Department, which we did, and they also denied the existence of this incident commander recording. An incident commander isn't just another guy in a police response. He's the guy. What is a police incident commander? First, an incident is a serious event. Examples include a hostage scenario, a suicidal subject or a barricaded subject scenario where the person is armed. Of course, the worst of these is the active shooter scenario. When the police respond to these types of incidents, somebody has to coordinate the response. The incident commander orchestrates the activities of the uniformed officers, the SWAT team, the hostage negotiation team, and the medical team. The incident commander is the central hub of communication, and they operate in these scenarios from makeshift command posts. So if you're investigating a serious incident and you can't get your hands on the recordings of the incident commander, that's like saying over 50% of the data is not available. So when we found out we couldn't get the incident commander's recordings, we were confused. But we were also curious. We discovered that most police departments have a policy around recording all serious incidents, and so did the Odessa Police Department. We brought their policy to their attention. They simply said they couldn't find any more records. So we did two things. First, we asked them to produce any records related to internal police policy violations from the Heath Stoneman incident. This yielded no additional records, meaning no one was punished for failing to record the incident. Second, we decided to share information with them that would allow them to understand precisely which video and audio recordings we were looking for. We started with the incident log and identified the vehicles that the incident commander arrived in that evening. We correlated those timestamps with the ones from the in-dash video footage. We used this to pinpoint the exact vehicle which should have recorded the incident commander. As I said earlier, we were curious and confused, but we weren't suspicious until we started looking at this video. And then it finally hit us like a ton of bricks. This vehicle was the only vehicle pointed in the direction of Heath Stoneman's house during the time of the alleged incident, meaning it was the only in-dash camera that could have captured footage of the alleged crime. So it wasn't just that the incident commander's audio was missing, it was also the only video that may have completely exonerated Heath Stoneman. The significance of this missing evidence is that it reduced the case against Stoneman to that of mere officer testimony. Without this video evidence, the police were free to make up basically any story they wanted to. What if the recordings contradict what officers said in their sworn statements? In that case, the video would be evidence of perjury. If you ask any defense attorney, what's going to happen when we go into court and it's my word against the police, they're going to advise you that judges and juries tend to believe the police, unless you can prove that they lied about something. Now, it wasn't just that the OPD didn't release these records that we proved should have existed. It was also that they didn't politely explain what happened to them. They offered no explanation at all. When you show the police the exact vehicle, which should have recorded audio and video, and they don't say that the recorder was broken or the officer failed to activate the recorder and essentially leave you in the dark, you should simply assume the recordings depicted contradictions to their version of events. On top of all the issues this created, When we looked at the Texas Ranger report, we didn't find a single entry documenting this missing evidence.
Do we need to move the channel to Patrol 2 because Patrol Talk's not monitored or recorded?
No, we're doing Patrol Talk because the media can't.
Well, okay. Yeah, I thought we weren't supposed to do these on Patrol Talk though because we weren't recorded. But I understand your logic.
We're recorded.
Okay.
Patrol Talk.
Okay.
They're not
All right. Let me have your weapon and let's back up.
So in the middle of the incident commander, Sergeant Morrell, is pointing out that he is being recorded. OPD uses the Patrol Talk channel to avoid media monitoring of their communications during incidents. We learned this channel and the Special Ops channels are not centrally recorded. So why is Sergeant Morrell claiming he's being recorded? Because he's talking about their on-person recorders, which transmit back to the in-dash camera system. The missing evidence began to pile up, and this made us more alert to any other missing evidence. We examined the in-dash video, and we learned that Odessa deployed their armored personnel carrier that night. This is basically an armored tank that the Odessa Police Department acquired from the Department of Defense. The use of this vehicle is reserved for the most serious incidents. Naturally, we requested all of the audio and video that was recorded by this vehicle. We did this in large part because the armored personnel carrier arrived on the scene only minutes before Heath Stoneman was shot. You can probably guess where this is going. No, they didn't turn over any audio or video recordings from this vehicle, but we were shocked to learn the reason was not because they failed to turn on the recorders that night, but because the vehicle itself is not equipped with any audio or video recording equipment. How can they even comply with their own policy to record all serious incidents if this vehicle that's used for the most serious incidents doesn't even have recording? So by this point, it wasn't simply that some evidence in the case was missing. It was that all of the most critical evidence was missing. After the sniper shot Stoneman, they were given routine drug and alcohol tests. Guess what happened to the test results? Oh, and after that test, one of the snipers had to be driven home. Does this look like a cover-up to you? Because it looks like one to me.
Give me love like her.
If you still want the building and loan, I'm...
George, could it possibly be there's a slight discrepancy in the books?
No, sir, there's nothing wrong with the books. I've just misplaced $8,000. I can't find it anywhere.
You misplaced $8,000.
Yes.
Have you notified the police?
No, sir, I didn't want the publicity. Harry's homecoming tomorrow.
You ain't going to believe that one. What have you been doing, George? Playing the market with the company's money?
No, sir, I haven't.
No, but I tell you what I'm going to do for you, George. Since the state examiner is still here, as a stockholder of the building and loan, I'm going to swear out a warrant for your arrest. Misappropriation of funds, manipulation, malfeasance. All right, children, go ahead. You can't hide a little down like this. Bill? Potter.
Is the taste that your lips allow. My mind. Oh, give me love. 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 My mind. Give me love. Give me love like never before. Lately I've been craving more.
We've laid out all of the missing evidence. Now we're going to highlight two significant procedural omissions which we feel should confirm the worst fears of anyone who has ever been concerned with police shootings in Texas. We noticed in the crime scene contamination log that several supervisors were present at the scene that night, but the vast majority of them didn't even file a written report about the incident. Look at all these captains and sergeants that were present at the scene but didn't have to file a written report. And only one of them actually had to provide a sworn statement to the Texas Ranger investigators. They've got a policy to record serious incidents. What about a policy to document serious incidents? All of this reflects negatively on the Texas Rangers who conducted this investigation. It looks like nothing more than rubber stamping the police version of events. A good example of this is when they took sworn statements from the officers. The Texas Ranger investigator didn't even record the interview. They simply typed a written statement with the officer involved. Now, why would they do that? Because if you don't record the interview, it's not admissible in court. You kind of expected some shenanigans from the Odessa Police Department, but not the Texas Rangers. The public believes that the Texas Rangers provide an independent investigation of a police-involved shooting. When you look at a case like this, going into it, you have a set of assumptions. You assume that the Texas Rangers are investigating in order to identify what really happened. But when you look through their report, and you look at the way they handled so many elements of the case, it's just hard to understand what is going on in Texas. After you grapple with the fact that the Texas Rangers pretty much didn't investigate the Odessa Police Department, you really start to wonder, what are all the things that they didn't do? It turns out to be a long list, unfortunately. They just assumed there were two shooters. They didn't perform hardly any ballistics analysis. They didn't put together any trajectory diagrams. There was no firing pin analysis on the spent cartridges to confirm that they each came from separate guns. They didn't test the guns. They didn't even reconstruct the crime scene to see what the snipers could see. Not even a single mention of how dimly lit the neighborhood was, even though when you look at all of the in-dash camera, you can clearly see it was a very dark neighborhood. They didn't check the sniper's vision. They didn't note the missing urine test. They didn't look at Stoneman's phone and texting log. They didn't even try to interview Stoneman. They didn't analyze his bullet wounds and the bullet holes in his house. They didn't issue any procedural recommendations. They weren't critical of anything OPD did that night. Not a single critical remark can be found in their reports. Not one. If you read the Rangers' reports, you would think this was a model police shooting. But the biggest failure of all was that their report contains no fundamental conclusion about the justification of the shooting. I can show you hundreds or possibly thousands of news articles and local television news reports where there's been a police shooting and the second or third sentence in the report is, "The Texas Rangers are investigating." Everyone assumes they are actually investigating. But are they investigating? Are they? Are they really investigating? As I told you earlier, concerned citizens and journalists can only investigate police shootings if the officer or the citizen who was shot is convicted of a crime. I don't think there's ever been a true journalistic endeavor to uncover the truth about these police shootings on the scale that is needed. So yes, the Heath Stoneman case is a cover-up, but that's because all police shootings in Texas are subject to systematic cover-up. They are disposed of with secretive grand jury pronouncements where the evidence presented is not subject to public scrutiny.